Hello everybody, I'm Linda Monroe Ward and I'm faculty in the Web Technologies program with the Community College in North Carolina, and we're always needing to save images that are suitable for web design or web viewing. And so today I'd like to show you how to save various kinds of images in Adobe Creative Suite 2014 using the Save for Web feature. I'm going to work with about 4 images. This one is of the clubhouse at Jekyll Island in South Carolina, and this is a photorealistic image, and I'd like to save this one for the web. The next one I'm going to try to save is the Jekyll Island clubhouse again, but I made it a vignette so that it can show up on top of a colored background. And as you can see, it goes from being totally opaque to 0% opacity as you go out. So that's got a special need right there. And then the next image I have is a rocket. And it's just a rocket with some flat colors, and there's transparency. Those little checkerboards is transparency. And then the last one is going to be some buttons. How to save some buttons as rollovers. And where I'm going to get the buttons are in Illustrator. I actually found these buttons in the Symbols panel. I went to the Symbols library and I got web buttons and bars, and they were actually in this panel. And what I did was I dragged out some blue ones and some yellow ones, and I put the yellow ones on top of the blue ones. And we'll get to that when we get there. Okay, so those are the 4 images we're going to work with. Let's start with Jekyll Island. Okay, right now the formats that we usually use for web design are Jpeg, GIF, GIF, or Ping, and there's 2 varieties of Ping. There's Ping 8, which gives you 256 colors, and Ping 24, which gives you millions of colors. And a photorealistic image like this, JPEG is used where it looks like a photorealistic image. There's a lot of colors in there. Also, the Ping 24 is used for photorealistic colors. But the difference between JPEG and Ping 24 is JPEG does not support transparency, where Ping 24 does support transparency. So if I take a look at this picture, I have nowhere in there that's transparent. But if I go to this picture, there is transparency. If I close this layer, you see I fade out to transparency. So I have this photorealistic image with no transparency, and this photorealistic image with transparency. So my guess is, with this image, I would use a JPEG because I don't need transparency. This image, if I did it with, save this out as a JPEG, this is what's going to happen. It's going to fill the transparency with white because JPEG does not support transparency. But I can save this one out as a Ping and still maintain transparency. Okay, let's take a look at this one, Rocket. This picture has very flat colors. There's no gradients and very few colors. There's probably about 6 or 8 colors in this, maybe 10. We could probably count them. Plus I have transparency. Okay, the 2 choices I would have for that, I definitely would not want JPEG because this is what would happen. It would put a white square around it. The 2 choices I would have for this, since I need transparency, would be GIF or Ping. Ping 24 or Ping 8. Okay. GIF will only support 256 colors, and Ping 8 will only support 256 colors. Ping 24 supports millions of colors. Well, I don't need Ping 24 because I don't have that many colors. Those are the three formats that will support transparency. So Ping 24 would be out. So my choice on this would probably be the GIF or GIF, so it's said two different ways, or the Ping 8. And we'll experiment when we get to that one. Now the buttons, we'll get to that later. Okay, let's take a look at Jekyll Island. If I wanted to save it, first let's check the size. Okay, it's going to be 1,000 pixels wide, 750 high. And let's say I want that across the top of a web page. So that's pretty good dimensions. I would go to File, Save for Web. Now, here we go. I have the original is in this box. Over here, I can make a choice. Down here, I could make a choice. And down here, I could make a choice. Okay, I'm going to go 2 up since I'm only going to look at JPEG. So here's my original, and here's the one that I will save for the web. Okay, we're already saying that we will need JPEG. Okay, but what version? Let me go ahead, I'm going to go Command plus plus so you can see what's going on here. This is the original and the edges are pretty good. This one's the JPEG. Now, how do we choose which JPEG we should use? Let's try low. Can you tell the JPEG artifacting that's going on here? That definitely is not going to work. So let's try JPEG medium. There's still some artifacts going on here. The edges do not look clean versus the original. So let's go to high. Starting to look a little better. And the file size is going to be 175 kilobytes. Our goal is to get the picture to look good enough that's acceptable to us, but with the lowest file size. So right now, JPEG High has still some artifacting going on, and it's 175 kilobytes. Let's try Very High. Now that looks really close to the original. There's a little bit going on right over here. But that's not bad. It's 306 kilobytes. Now let's check the 100% maximum. Now that looks just like it, but it's 651. That's twice the size of where I go to Very High. Okay, Very High is 306 kilobytes. I like this. This is acceptable to me. So I would probably save this as a JPEG with Very High. Now you can also change this setting to make it, to even tweak it, because the Very High, or the maximum was 100, Very High is 80. You can go this route to 86, or you can go down to maybe 6 or 70. That's in between medium and high. 70 still looks pretty good. And that's 227 kilobytes. That might look even better. The other thing is, if I had a very large picture, people are very impatient on the web. And if I had a very large picture, it may take a while for the picture to download. So if that was going to happen, I would choose progressive. Of course, it added a little to the size of the picture. Not a whole lot, but it did. But this picture, it's going to come in pretty fast. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to save it as the optimize. Now this image, I could reduce some of the artifacts by blurring a little bit, but you don't want to do too much there. So I might set it to that. So with this picture, I would probably set it at high JPEG and maybe drop it back to 70 instead of 80 because it still looks good compared to the original. And just optimize it. I probably don't need to do progressive. When you set progressive, a blurry image will show up and they'll start clearing up from the top to the bottom, and people are curious to see what the picture is and they'll stay at the website. But I don't need to do that. So, and I might blur it just a little bit. and I would save it. That's what I would do with this picture. Photorealistic, no transparency. Okay, let's take a look at the second one. Let's go File, Save for Web. Remember, we have a photorealistic image fading out to 100% transparency. So let's go File, Save for Web. Now, let's take a look at this one. Here's the original. Here's this one. Let's first try JPEG. That's not what we want. We do not want a white square around our vignette here. So that's out. Let's try GIF just to see. Guess what happens with GIF? Transparency, in GIF there is no partial transparency. Either it's opaque or it's transparent. And so with this one, it just looks like a round sphere. So my transparency, the fading out, is gone. So the other choice is Ping. Let's try Ping 8. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, Command plus. Do you see what's going on with Ping 8? There's some dithering going on here. Where there isn't a color, Ping 8 has only 256 colors. In places where one of these colors is not one of those 256 colors, they'll alternate a couple colors to trick your eye into thinking it's a color that you think it is. So Ping 8's not going to work very well. So let's try Ping 24. Ping 24, it looks just as good as the original. And let's go Command minus to go out. And once again, you see my fade looks beautiful. Now it's going to be 1.27 megabytes because this is a big picture. So I might want to interlace it, which will make it a little larger, but the people will be curious to see what the picture is and maybe hang around my web page longer. So we can go either way, Ping 8. That is a large picture. Or Ping 24. We're going to do Ping 24. And we do want transparency. If I turn that off, that's just same as a JPEG, so keep the transparency on. And I would save this as a Ping 24. Okay. The next picture we have is the rocket. We have flat color, very few colors, and transparency. So my guess is a GIF might work really well with that. So let's check it out. So we will go File, Save for Web. Now, here's my original. Here's what I'm going to look at. Ping 8 looks good. If you take a look, let's zoom in, Command plus. Ping 8 looks pretty good. It looks just like the original, matter of fact. It's 11.41 kilobytes. Okay, let's try the GIF. Oh, that's 76 colors. Do you know what? We don't need 76 colors. Let's go with 16 colors. There's some jagged edges going here, so there's a few little extra colors where the colors change there. So let's go 32. Now that looks just like the original. That's going to be 9.34 kilobytes. So let's check it with the GIF. With the 32 colors, and I'm going to dither, which allows some other little colors coming in. It looks just like the original. But it's 10.76 kilobytes. Let's check it again with the Ping 8. And I'm doing some diffuse dithering, which allows smoother edges here. And it's only 9.34. So those sizes are pretty close. Now mine, both of them, I'm using 32 colors. Both sizes look pretty good. But since the Ping is a lower file size from the GIF, I'm going to go ahead and use Ping. I could have just as easily have used GIF. What's the difference between GIF and Ping? GIF is the older version of this type of format. Well, GIF was going to charge people to use it They were going to go to court and have people pay for it. So some other companies decided to choose a file format called Ping8 that's very similar, that we weren't going to have to pay extra for. So on this one, I'm going to choose Ping8. Okay, now let's talk about creating rollover buttons. As a faculty teaching web technologies and multimedia and apps and e-publishing, there's a lot of times when we would like some rollover buttons. We could create interactive PDFs in InDesign or in Fireworks, where we would use the object states to create the rollover buttons, or we may use them in Dreamweaver or just code them in using HTML and CSS. But a lot of times we'll want buttons. Now, how do I create the buttons? First off, I will create a file that will receive my buttons. So I've got that there. It's just an empty file with a white background. I actually went to Illustrator and found some symbols for buttons. So I'll go to Illustrator. And I found under the symbols another library called Web Buttons and Bars. And what I did was I actually dragged out, let's drag out kind of a cute one here. I actually dragged out the little buttons and dropped them on my page, like that. Okay. I dragged out some blue ones and I dragged out some yellow ones. I'm going to make the blue ones my up version and the yellow ones my down version. So what I did was then I aligned them to where they're side by side from each other and up and down, and then I grouped them. Then I dragged out some yellow ones and I actually put them on top of these buttons so that I knew they were grouped the same way, the same distance and the same proportions. And then I grouped them, and here they are. So I'm in Illustrator and I've got them there. And I could have created them with our tools and stuff over here too if I wanted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the down ones and I'm just going to copy them. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to go Command C, or you can go to Edit Copy. And it's right there. Now I will go to Photoshop and I will go Command V, like for Victor, Command V, and I'll bring them in as pixels. And there they are. And they're where I want them, so I'll hit Return. At this point, first, I could resize them and rotate them if I wanted, but I like them the way they are, so I'll hit Return or Enter on the PC. Okay, so now I have a new layer, and it's the yellow buttons. It's over here. Now let's go back to Illustrator and get the blue ones. These are my up buttons. Go Command C to copy. Go to Photoshop. Go Command V to paste, and I'll bring them in as pixels and go OK. There they are, and I'll hit Return. Now if I wanted to make sure these buttons indeed were exactly over the yellow buttons, I'll hold the Shift key and click the blue button layer and the yellow button layer. And up here, you can make sure they're side by side on top of each other, and top and bottom on top of each other, and they are. So they are indeed exactly on top of each other. So let's get started with slices. Excuse me. In order to just save the buttons, I need to create slices. So if I go over here underneath the crop tool, I'll get the slice tool. First, I can make the first slice by going to Layer, Create new layer based slice. And that got these outside ones. Let me turn my eyeballs off on these other layers. So that got the outside slice to get the outside edges of these buttons. Now I can follow the little checkerboard grid to start making slices around each individual button. And there you have it. And then there's like a guide here that I can go. And so let's go here, create a slice around this button. There you have it. Now let's go over here, and it's about lined up with that little line. And go there. And then let's go here. It's about there, and go down to the bottom corner. There's my slices. If I needed to select them, I'll go back to the tool, and there's a slice select tool. So there's one slice, that's slice 03. Here's slice 05, slice 09, and slice 10. Now there's other slices here and up here and in the middle and in here and here. Now they're going to also save out, but we're going to delete them because they're empty. Now let's go to File, Save for Web. I want transparency, I want some color, and I can do this either GIF or Ping 8. And when I was experimenting earlier, I found out that the Ping 8 using diffusion and 76 colors, the Ping 8s were a little smaller file size than the GIF. They looked alike, but I'm going to go for the smaller file size. So over here, I have the slice selection tool. I'll select this slice, make sure it's Ping 8 with some diffusion dithering and 76 colors with transparency on. Click this one, make sure it's the same thing. Click this one, make sure it's the same thing. And click this one. Okay, all those buttons are going to be saved out as Ping 8 with a little 100% dithering using diffusion kind and with transparency. Now there's other slices. They can be any other thing I want. I can make them JPEGs or whatever. It doesn't matter because I'm going to get rid of them. So now let's go save. And I'm going to save them in my tutorial folder here. And I'm going to name them Buttons Up. And let's go save. I already did some buttons up last time, so let me go ahead and replace them. I forgot to get them out of the folder from the last time I tried this, so let's replace them. And there we go. Now, let's do the yellow ones same way. File, Save for Web, Save for Web. There they are. Click on each button, Ping 8, 100% dither, and transparency. Click this one. Same thing. This one, same thing. This one, same thing. So let's save it, only this time let's name it Buttons Down. DN. And I'll save it in this outer folder, but I imagine they're going to go in this image folder. So let's go save. And I had done this before, so I'm going to copy over them again and replace. Now let's take a look at our folder. Here's our folder. Oops, let's get rid of this one too. Now, I have all my up buttons. I have all my down buttons. Pretty cool, huh? Let's just get rid of all these, and I'll hold the command key down. Click that one, that one. I imagine it's a control key on the PC. And I'll click all of these empty slices. And I'll right click and say Move to Trash. Or on the PC, you could have just hit the delete button. And there you have it. There's my up buttons and my down buttons. And they're all ready to go for when I create, say, an interactive PDF in InDesign. I've got my buttons. So, there you have it. First, we had a photorealistic image, and we wanted to save it for web. We saved it as a JPEG. The reason why we saved it as a JPEG was we did not have transparency, so we did not have to deal with transparency, and it was photorealistic. JPEG is the best file format for that type of image. Jekyll Island, they had some feathering. I could have saved that as a GIF because GIFs use transparency, or a ping 8 or ping 24, because I can use transparency for that. GIF images are more for non-photorealistic images where there's fewer colors, because a GIF and also a ping 8 can only have 256 colors. I wouldn't save it as a GIF because the GIF would not support the partial transparent pixels. If you can see here that I have partially transparent pixels. In a GIF, the pixel either has to be totally opaque or totally transparent. So a GIF wouldn't work. So I chose ping, and ping 8 didn't work because I only had 256 colors. So I chose ping 24. Rocket. Here I had transparency and I had just a few flat colors. So I actually I had two choices here. I could save it as a GIF or I could save it as a ping 8. Ping 24 I could have saved, but that's overkill because I didn't have more than 256 colors. So when I checked this one out, I checked it for ping 8, and I think I had 32 colors, and I checked it out with the GIF with 32 colors. And they both looked equally, but the ping had a smaller file size, so I saved it out as a ping. Now this one, I showed you how to bring some buttons into Photoshop, and then create slices, and then save for web. And I in the save for web box, I actually clicked on each slice and chose ping 8 with, I think it was 76 colors. And it didn't matter what I saved these slices as because I was going to delete them. And they were actually put into a folder, and I deleted all these other slices. It actually created individual images, put them in a different folder, and I got rid of the empty pictures, empty files, and saved the button files. And there you have it. I hope you learned a lot, and I want to thank you for watching this. Until next time.